Nico Harrison talked again today, but was he honest about what he had to say about Luka Dončić? We'll discuss it next on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato. That is our Mavericks analyst, Bobby Krell, and our national NBA insider, Marc Stein. We, of course, are DLLS Mavs. Nico Harrison talked once again today, as was he honest with what he had to say about the Luka Dončić trade. Your guy, Tim Cato, was live at the scene, and we will break down whether or not Nico Harrison should be actually fired after what he had to say, and, of course, the controversial trade that still has Mavericks fans quite a bit upset, even to this day. We'll get into all that over the course of the next hour. I'm going to cook Nico Harrison a little bit later on with half a voice. The other half of my voice is left in Las Vegas from over the weekend. So other than that, we're all good. It's good to see you fellas once again.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Appreciate
Welcome back
it.
to Texas.
Yeah, it's good to see you, KG. I'm glad you're not taking a vacation. You don't do any
I don't
of
take
that here.
vacations on D. Well, actually, I did kind of
come back from vacation early, though. There you go.
I did, because even though I might take a vacation, I don't take extended vacations on DLLS Sports.
No.
Apologies in advance if you guys catch me looking at my phone or whatever. I've been getting a lot of messages. A lot of messages are coming in.
You're like dual wielding right now.
I got 3 screens going because I'm trying to stay on top of everything.
You got them all plugged in, ready to go?
I got 1 plugged in, so these other 2 just better last.
Our guy, Tim Cato, was on the scene today at the Mavericks practice facility as Nico Harrison, for the second time in less than a week, decided to talk about the Luka Dončić trade. This time, though, boys and girls, he did so in front of cameras and more media from Dallas, Tim Cato, as Nico Harrison took questions and made a statement for about 26, 27 minutes. And for him, trying to put behind him the trade while also looking forward, kind of set the scene for us at the Mavericks practice facility and what he had to say today.
Yeah, I was there last week at the no video, no audio, press, selected press only.
No rhyme or reason.
Mm-hmm. And I was there today at the exit interview, and maybe I'm just tired. Maybe we've all just been talking about this so much. It was nice that Nico Harrison was at least honest in a few moments at today's press conference, admitting, for the first time that, what was pretty obvious, that he did not anticipate the level of the fan reaction that was going to come from this. I think it's really hard to imagine anybody making this trade if you had fully understood that. And I do think, it was absolutely something knowable, but at least admit that, and those concessions weren't happening last week. It was, there was more engagement, at least in the answers that he gave today. It felt more transparent. The problem is, of course, that ultimately he still traded Luka Dončić, and ultimately this team is still in the situation that they're in, and ultimately the entire move depended, as he said several times in the press conference, that this team had to immediately go out there and win, and they didn't. And now they're going into summer with questions, with, it started so much sooner than anybody would have anticipated, started so much sooner than it would have if they just hadn't made the trade, with the way things worked out. So, yeah, I thought the open honesty was, after waiting this long to see Nico Harrison talk on video, it was at least nice that it wasn't ducking and dodging. There wasn't anything that was, blatantly, untrue. But at the end of the day, Dallas is still in the same situation, and nothing about that has changed.
Yeah, I just didn't really like the whole theme throughout was like, we are moving forward, we are moving on. This thing happened, and we are looking ahead. Which kind of it feels like that undertone is leading toward, and Tim, you've already mentioned this, and Mark, I'm sure you've mentioned this plenty of times as well, but seems like Nico thinks he's going to be a part of this thing, at least through his contract. It doesn't sound like a guy that's worried about getting canned. It doesn't sound like an organization that's about to be turned upside down. And I'm sure that's not going to make a lot of people happy because, like, let's just, let's call it like it is. Isaac Harris asked a pretty good question early on. He was like, do you think you deserve to be fired, or why shouldn't you be fired? And he mentioned several times hearing an arena full of people calling for his job. And there are many, 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 many more people that want him to lose his job than can fit in that building. And I don't think that anyone is going to be happy from this. So sure, I guess he was honest and a little forthcoming and answered some questions and looked very uncomfortable at times. But nothing is really going to come of it. So I almost view it as a complete waste of time.
Yeah, maybe my reaction is just so focused to how untransparent last week and that closed media session was, which is still baffling.
He should have done this 2.5 months ago, though.
Yeah. And that's absolutely. I mean, I said that last week after that press conference, or that media, invited media event, that there's no reason why this needed to wait so long. And ultimately, there aren't going to be answers that are going to land with anybody because everybody, up and down the timeline, the fan base, there's no words, there's no sequence of words in the English language that could explain to the majority of this fan base exactly why this trade happened and why the team is in the situation that they are.
Well, that is a big part of the delay because you can't explain the inexplicable and you cannot defend the indefensible. And the reality is they made this trade, as we've been saying since February 2nd. Nico Harrison advised his owner that the Dallas Mavericks would be better off no longer orbiting around Luka Dončić and that Anthony Davis was the better cornerstone for the Mavericks. That was Nico's position. He sold it to ownership. Ownership signed off, and they don't want to come out and say it that plainly. And so we get phrases like defense wins championships.
Oh, my God.
And, if you don't like the player we got, then there's nothing we can say. And, that is a factor in the delay. But look, there were plenty of questionable answers today. As Tim just said, there weren't going to be any answers to make people feel better about this. But,
yeah,
I think my analysis was already cemented before a word was said today. Like you knew realistically the end of the season was coming either via the play-in or the first round against the 68-win Thunder. They were going to have this end of season press conference anyway. Why did they do what they did last Tuesday?
Sure.
They put a game on the schedule that was not on the schedule by arranging that invite only, no cameras media gathering, and they lost that game by more than what Memphis did on Sunday to Oklahoma City. And
you didn't have to go catch Memphis like that for a straight. That was crazy. That was crazy.
And so, today was the press conference that we were always going to get. But, as we've covered this ground, it should have happened the day that Anthony Davis, Caleb Martin, and Max Christie were introduced in Dallas.
Sure.
It didn't happen that day, and the rest is history.
I think the initial analysis for me, and Tanner, I want to play this clip because for me, there were several fireable offensive statements that he said today, starting with this one. His response to the question of did he understand or did the outrage exceed even his own expectations? Here's what he had to say.
When you were kicking the idea of this trade around and you had various scenarios planned in your head, did the anger and outrage from the fan base, has that exceeded what you were kind of planning for?
Yeah, good question. I did know that Luka was important to the fan base. I didn't quite know it to what level, But really, the way we looked at it is, if you're putting a team on the floor that's Kyrie, Clay, PJ, Anthony Davis, and Lively, we feel that's a championship caliber team, and we would have been winning at a high level, and that would have quieted some of the outrage. And so unfortunately, we weren't able to do that, so it just continued to, go on and on.
That's an asinine statement and a fireable offense. I mean, you just watch this player have one of the greatest offensive seasons that we've ever seen in the history of this league. He led your team to an NBA Finals for the first time since 2011. The continued pouring out of emotion that this player displayed, not only in his run to the finals, but also what you saw when he came back with the Los Angeles Lakers and the emotion that he gave when he saw the tribute video. And I know that came after, obviously, the trade happened, but to say that he did not have enough of an understanding of what this player meant to this organization and to not expect that kind of outrage, to me, shows out of touch, an inability to be able to understand the player that he was working with and ultimately that the fans fell in love with.
I agree with every word you say, and I just want to tack on. This is, again, why I want to make sure whenever we talk about all of Nico's failings here, we are not going to leave out Patrick Dumont, because he is the one who should have been pressing. Okay, you want to trade Luka Dončić. What is our messaging to the public? What is our business plan to cope with the loss of this player? Clearly, that didn't happen internally. And that's, to me, such a big part of this and such a mistake that basically it's clear now. Nico Harrison made the two big moves at the trade deadline. That gave him a ton of sway with Patrick Dumont. That convinced Patrick Dumont, my GM is super sharp. I thought Tim put it really well in your story today, which is on the DLLS website, and urge you guys to go read it. I think to listen to Patrick's initial comments, not just in the real estate meeting, but the one sit-down interview he gave with Brad Townsend in the Morning News, which was a week after the trade. So there was already a week of fan outrage before that interview with Brad was published. And it's just like he bought into, I only need to listen to Nico. He just made two trades that got us to the finals. And that was such a huge error on top of, like I said, agreeing with everything you're saying there. But it's like, there's a connection that needs to be made, and we can't forget here.
Yeah, handing over $3.5 billion to someone and trusting one guy with all of the decision-making power.
Oh my gosh.
That says a lot about you. Nico gave the game away, though. Like it should come as no surprise that he's out of touch with how the fans feel, and Patrick Dumont as well, because Nico said, this is a direct quote, "Everything we do is without emotion and goes through the lens of process." So this is intentionally, being out of touch with fans' feelings. People's fifis don't matter around here. This is all process. Nico had a player that he liked more than a player that he had. He was willing to trade the player that he had for the player that he liked at whatever cost. I don't care about your feelings. I don't care about how any of these people feel or think.
Also, those are feelings.
Yeah, that is a feeling. Yeah. The absence of feeling is still a feeling.
Yeah, or it's a feeling of liking, having a preference, liking somebody more than another person.
Yeah, exactly. And had you taken any meaningful steps to go through the process of determining whether Luka is a better player than Anthony Davis, you would have been stunned by the results. So it's like this paradox of saying, well, we want to strip out all the emotion and just think about the basketball. But if you do that, the answer is still the same thing. This trade was incredibly bad. It was incredibly dumb, incredibly stupid. It should never have happened. And, no matter how you feel about Luka, no matter how you feel about Anthony Davis, I personally don't want the person who's in charge of decisions of my business, of my team, of my company, whatever, the team I root for, to be that short-sighted, to have that much tunnel vision, to think that way, because they are going to make catastrophic miscalculations like this one, and it won't be the last one. The next trade he make will probably be even worse. Like, if he is that out of touch with reality, both emotionally and statistically, like in terms of data and all that stuff, he's not qualified for the job. He's just not.
And I think as we go to break here, that's the thing that sticks with me most, whether he had the closed door meeting last week or today, is that there were several instances of the statements that he made today that are consistent with his inability to be able to have this job and to have this job moving forward. I've been trying to hold off on publicly calling for this man's job. I think today I got there. And I'll tell you a little bit why a little bit later on in the show, because after what I heard today, coupled with what we heard last week, it's untenable for this man to continue to lead this team going forward, given the direction that they're going in relative to what they were going just less than a year ago. But that'll be a little bit more later on in our show. When we come back here on the DLLS Mavs podcast, more of what Nico Harrison had to say, including this particular statement about what he feels about this team moving forward. All that and more coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs podcast.
Just like your favorite team needs a home court advantage, your home needs a home floor advantage, and Empire Today can help you get it. Empire Today has flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. If you go to one of the big box stores, every time I'm there, I feel like I'm just wandering aisles that go on forever. It's like a labyrinth, just trying to find your way around. They might have a flooring department, but the person helping you with flooring may have been doing sinks yesterday, could be stocking light bulbs tomorrow. Empire Today is your best bet for a new floor because they live and breathe flooring, and they'll be with you every step of the way. I think that was an intentional pun. I like this copy. It's a whole different ball game. Schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. DLLS listeners can receive a $350 discount when using promo code DLLS. Yes, you heard that right. A $350 discount with code DLLS. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday.com/DLLS for full details.
Gentlemen, what in the world is better than barbecue? And also, what in the world is better than live music? Whether you like country music, whether you like DJing, whatever it is, you got to check out the Lone Star Smokeout. That's coming to AT&T Stadium May 2nd through the 4th. That is, next weekend. You can try barbecue from 14 teams across the United States and decide for yourself who's really the champ. Taste testing barbecue is that's probably the ideal way to spend a weekend. You pair all that events each day, like the Texas biggest happy hour, Derby Day, and Cinco de Mayo a day early. Country's biggest stars will perform like Cody Jinks, John Party, and Midland. And how about local acts like the Randy Rogers Band and the Eli Young Band? There's a little, and DJ Pauly D is going to be there too. How about that? There's a little something for everybody. Stay tuned to DLLS for information for our upcoming VIP ticket giveaway for each day of the Smokeout. Kids 10 and under get in free. Tickets start at just $68. Don't miss out. Get yours at LoneStarSmokeout.com.
This statement by Nico Harrison will tell you everything that you need to know about where the Mavericks are. We'll get into that here in just a moment. But before we get there, let's get to a few of your super chats. Let's start with Classic Stain Lover with the $1.99 super chat. Tim, could you ask about the McMahon article?
Maybe should have, maybe could have. Unfortunately,
no one did, and it was surprising. But it was also only about a 25-minute press conference. I mean, it was
easily could have been triple that.
Yeah, I mean,
sure.
And after the way last week went, it was an hour and did not go well. You didn't think that this was going to be a afternoon long session. So.
Yeah, certainly plenty more that could have been gotten to and would have loved to have gotten to.
So we'll get into some of that on the show.
We will. Mm-hmm. Ozzy D with the $4.99 super chat. They should mark the spot of the Nico Palinka table at Ascension with an X. That's the spot where my franchise perished.
I drove over the JFKX downtown, going to the presser.
And if you guys knew how much I patronize the Addison Ascension, you'd be.
You can't go there anymore, Mark.
You'd be. Well, it's my closest coffee. So.
Okay.
Last one before we continue.
I was going to say your fans are going to be showing up in mass.
That's right.
They're going to be lining the doors. Can you sign by Marc Stein jersey?
I have no fans.
That is a lie.
Sign my phone charger.
Don't worry about that. Basketball, but don't make me laugh. I got half a voice, so don't make me laugh. Basketball business with the $4.99 super chat. Nico, double standard. Can't judge me because of the injuries yet. 2.5 quarters versus injured Rockets as proof as his team works. Injuries only matter for his team.
You got to understand, man, whenever you are the protagonist of reality, you're the protagonist of reality. Everyone else is just a supporting character. This is Nico Harrison's story.
That is a very sharp super chat.
Yeah, for sure. And I think he didn't mention that line today, and I'm just still so baffled and frustrated by how dumb last week was, and just so many of the talking points, like the idea that 2.5 quarters proves this is a good team. If you believe this is a good team, obviously you do. Nico, you made the trade.
You mean like the part today where it was said that last Tuesday was meant to display Nico Harrison and Rick Welts as the faces of Mavs leadership going forward, but no cameras were allowed.
Well, Marc Stein. Good gracious. I mean, yeah, you're 100% right.
Yeah.
Tanner, this statement by Nico Harrison today can kind of let you know exactly where the Mavericks are. In fact, Nico Harrison responding to another question from Mac Engel of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram about the idea of what he was thinking as he was conjuring up this particular trade and how he arrived at it. Here's what he had to say. That's right.
There have been a million theories about why you did the deal. One of them was that you were told to do it, that Mr. Dumont said, I didn't want to give the Supermax contract, which is obviously very expensive, to Luka. Were you told that you had to trade him?
No, not at all. Patrick reminds me of the leadership that I had at Nike, and a really good leader doesn't tell the people that work for them what to do. It's a collective, well thought out process to make a big move like that. And then also, unfortunately, I'm super stubborn, so someone telling me to do something doesn't work too well for me.
But don't take a vacation. Don't do that.
Two things stick out immediately. Bobby, I'll start with you on this because, number one, he says that, no one can necessarily tell me what to do. That won't go well for you. And the other idea being, like, look, man, this was a trade that I came up with, and this is the vision that I have for it, and this is how we're going to move. So this is what I did. Basically, what I'm getting at is the idea that no one can tell you anything on what you need to do, and then you being the guy that's like, yeah, I'm stubborn. I'm going to do exactly what I want based on what we see all from not only Tim Cato's reporting, but Tim McMahon's reporting. Like, there's a lot going on here there's a lot of inconsistencies, I would say, given what Nico Harrison had to say today.
Yeah, two things. One, this hopefully will forever silence any conspiracy theories about Nico being the fall guy, which is just a completely absurd thing to think. The Mavs moving to Vegas, Adam Silver forced them to do it, whatever. Like, trust me, if Nico Harrison is getting death threats and still continues to be the fall guy, I hope he's getting paid $3 billion a year. Like, you would have to be a fool to stay in that situation. This was his idea. And that kind of underscores the thing I was saying before, which is if Patrick Dumont and his family are going to shell out more than $3 billion to run this team and then consult only one person who had been on the job for 2 years at the time of their purchase, that also says a lot about their not only basketball competence, but also their business acumen. How could you possibly trust one person?
They don't know basketball. Fine. That we've been. Mark Cuban said that probably too many times.
Most people don't. A lot of fans don't know anything either.
And he said it too loudly.
Neither do we. We don't know what we're doing.
But they're supposed to be business first savants. So there should have been a litany of business questions. What are the business implications of trading the player who happens to be the first international player ever to lead the league in jersey sales? What are the business implications of that? And it does not appear that any of those questions were raised before Nico Harrison called Rob Pelinka to say, we have a deal. And that is the part that just continues to boggle my mind.
Yeah. I mean, it was obvious from the moment that he made the trade that, he did not understand, like he said, the fan base.
Even had AD come here and played great and stayed healthy, had Kyrie Irving not had the knee injury, had this team actually won a playoff round or even two, all those business questions would still be there, unanswered.
Right. And to say that, everything was considered, that the process going into making decisions like this, to say that in the same press conference where you say you did underestimate or kind of found out just how much Luka meant to the fandom, does seem like that would have been a great thing to, one piece of information perhaps to parse.
Oh my God, there's 200 people working in the building adjacent to their practice facility that would have mounds of evidence to let you know just how important.
Patrick
Like
sat
I personally,
courtside enough to feel it himself.
yeah, no, I mean, I worked there with them for 2 years. Like I have met Nico personally multiple times. I feel insulted that they didn't like pay attention to the stuff that we were doing. Like it's unbelievable how out of touch you have to be, and to proudly, I wouldn't say proudly, to sheepishly admit that publicly multiple times now. Man, I just didn't really know. Like, bro, that is your job to know his impact on and off the floor. That is your whole. That's 99.9% of your job is to know about the players. Everything there is to know about the players. You can't go outside without seeing Luka's face on a bus. You can't leave town without seeing his face on a pillar at an airport. It's really funny. People take pictures of it all the time. Like, people come to games wearing Luka jerseys. Your job is to know this stuff. Like, how can you live in a world where you don't? It is willful ignorance. It is willful ignorance.
And that's why, for the first time publicly, it's time for this to be. There needs to be a change. If you cannot understand the basic requirements of what this job is expected of you, the personnel that you inherit, the personnel that you have to surround the player with to be able to make this go, because as these gentlemen have eloquently brought up in the past, you don't get to choose your superstar. You had one here. You had a chance to build consistently around that superstar for years to come. You actually did the thing to build around that superstar last year to get to the finals, while the new governor sat there oohing and eyeing watching Luka Dončić and his superstar sidekick Kyrie Irving lead your team to the finals, and that wasn't enough evidence for you to overcome whatever petty differences that you had between yourself and his team, communication or lack thereof. That is a fireable offense on so many different levels that it's time to go here, because if we are not to believe you in terms of what you had to decide what this decision was, then that means the decisions going forward, there's not a lack of confidence or trust that should be placed in those based on the decisions that you make and how you arrived at those decisions. Because I think to what you guys are talking about, the process and how we've got to some of these decisions, that cannot be the case moving forward, and how further decisions to further a vision that's already short-sighted as it is can continue to move forward. That is why it is, to me, it is time for a change with this particular leadership, because you cannot, in good confidence and good faith, move forward with this kind of decision making.
Only one person can fire him, though, and that guy doesn't know what he's doing either.
And that's
so it's like
that's a frightening part.
You know, it's the same. Sorry, real quick, just like it's the same reason why I don't trust Nico to be the GM, because I don't trust his judgment, I don't trust his process, I don't trust his any sort of evidence that he's getting from other people, because he says he doesn't get any. So I don't trust him to make the next move based on this one. I don't trust Patrick Dumont to hire someone either, because he's never worked in basketball before. Yeah. So like this franchise is now in control of two people who don't work in basketball, who are not from here, who are not from this industry, that are in way over their heads, and they're not running away from that. They're just embracing it. Like, well, we're learning, but only, maybe, kind of, only sort of.
Right, and it's not that general managers should make the moves that fans want at all times. Obviously, like that's not what. You know, fans can be dumb too. You know, GMs can make dumb decisions. So can fans. Beloved players can be sent away. Yes, this is all part of sports. The conceit here, the issue is the not knowing. You know, like there's obviously a slew of issues about this trade that we have covered at length. But you know, in terms of process, what I hear you saying, Bobby, and what I agree with is that you have it shows it stands out the not knowing that this fan base, you know, was going to react this way,
and openly admitting it multiple times.
I'm at least glad he admitted it. It's true. It's very obvious that you know, he did not have an understanding of how the fan base you know, was going to react to this. And yes, that is part of your job. You know, if you have to if you're going to choose to make a move that is this controversial, you got to have like a knowledge of what you're getting into. That they got into this and then just kind of looked around and said, "Oh, people really don't like this. Wow."
I wonder why.
Fans were booing. You're like, are they booing me?
Right.
Like, why?
Like that to me is the, you know, Nico loves talking about process. That to me is the process that failed.
Yes.
Very clearly. That is something you should know if you're going to trade Luka Dončić. You know, I am not in the business of ever trading someone that good. But if you are, you probably should know how the fan base all around you is going to react to it, what it's going to mean for the franchise going forward. And that's what it feels like Dallas is still trying to catch up to. The decision makers in Dallas.
You have to do it the right way too. And you don't lie and say that he wasn't going to sign the Supermax. No one believes that. He was going to sign the Supermax. It's not true. So that's a lie. Don't lie and say the fans would only get mad if they found out about it beforehand, because they got plenty mad afterward.
Right.
Don't lie and say that it would be a tumultuous summer, because I got news for you, buddy. This summer is going to be pretty tumultuous. Your team sucks, and you're at the first apron already.
It's been a tumultuous every day since February 2nd, and that's everything. The games now stop. The Mavericks will not play a game until their first exhibition in October. But when it starts up again, is it going to be any different than the vibe we just saw?
No,
I don't believe so.
No, it's just a gross miscalculation.
It is not.
You're just wrong. Your process is bad. Your process is horrible. It is no good. Very, very bad.
And it will keep going. The Lakers are down 0-1, down a game. But it will keep going.
I think Wolves will win that series.
Yeah. Well, as long as Luka is still in the playoffs, there are still games that will just keep this news cycle going.
Let's take our next break here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. When we come
back. These are the fastest segments ever. It's like 2 minutes break.
Should the Dallas Mavericks fire Nico Harrison? What his answer was to that question from today. We'll get into that next on the DLLS Mavs podcast. But like me talking today, owning a home is difficult. But with OwnWell, they can make it easier for you when it comes to paying your property tax. It is that time of the year where you get that dreaded letter in the mail letting you know how much you've got to pay on your property tax for the home that you own. And OwnWell can make it easier for you to take care of that. They believe that when it comes to paying property tax, you should only pay what's fair. So with OwnWell, you can make sure that you can get the best, and they can handle everything from start to finish as well and deliver top results with no upfront costs and only pay if you save. 86% of OwnWell's customers receive a reduction with the average customer savings of over $1,100. So you can put some money back in your pocket in just a few minutes. So make sure you remember that the deadline to protest is on May 15th for most counties. Save money on your property taxes with OwnWell. Sign up in less than 3 minutes and start your protest today at ownwell.com/DLLS. That's OWNWELL.com/DLLS today.
On the chat, I saw someone ask, Luka more or less than 41.5 points tomorrow. Or maybe tonight. I don't know. Whenever they play. Yeah. Tonight? Oh, boy. Yeah. Oh, boy. Well, you can do that on Sleeper. You can put your ball knowledge to the test every single night and predict whether your favorite or least favorite players will record more or less than their projected stat lines each and every game. I think Luka more than everything. Is that an option, KG? Just the most.
Yeah,
Luka will do the most tonight. Yeah. Will it be enough to win? We'll see. But on Sleeper, it's all about the players. You can stay up to date with injury news, any sort of rumors, any sort of instant news and reaction and analysis that you need to stay one step ahead of your friends. So if you want to play alongside me and put your ball knowledge to the test, download Sleeper today. Use promo code DLLS Mavs. When you play $5 to get $55 in free plays, you can use them anytime. Doesn't have to be your first plays. Just check out the terms and conditions before you sign up. Sleeper is available in more than 25 states, including Texas. So what are you waiting for? Download Sleeper today.
Will the Mavericks actually fire Nico Harrison? What Nico Harrison had to say to that particular question, we'll get to here in just a moment. But let's get to some more of your super chats. Let's start with Casey with the $1.99 super chat. Nico gaslighting by saying he didn't trash Luka.
Exactly. Untruth.
Complete untruth.
Honesty? Question mark.
Blue Tortoise Sports with the $4.99 super chat. When the hell did we become Bishop Sycamore 2.0? That's a hell of a reference. I encourage you to go find that out and we'll see what he's
Can we comment on pending legal issues?
Probably not. That's why I left it where it was. Shout out to, Alice Barley with the 10 super chat. Like Luka, say let's move forward. Nico shouldn't mention religion. He is just making money. Religion will not help you. If you had thrown a buddy on the end of that, that would have been that much more fire.
It reminds me of the Watchers on the Wall episode when the guys are in the tunnel about to fight the giant. He's like, "Oh, gods aren't down here. There's no gods here. It's all us."
Jake with the $4.99 super chat. The league orchestrated this trade. Silver's comment. Just as tone deaf as Mavs organization, still no substance to answering why return was bad.
I disagree, but thank you for the super chat.
Thank you for your contributions. Nico Harrison, why shouldn't you be fired by the Dallas Mavericks? That question was posed by Isaac Harris of Locked On Mavs, and here is what Nico Harrison had to say to that question.
You know, when Luka comes back to town, the Lakers game's happening, and you're standing there, and there's thousands of people chanting for you to be fired. That's an experience that none of us, no one's chanting for for us to lose our jobs. Why shouldn't you be fired?
Well, one, I think I've done a really good job here, and I don't think I can be judged by the injuries this year. You have to judge from totality, from beginning to end, and so I think I have a really good working relationship with Patrick. I think you add in Rick, the leadership that we have is really elite, and you'll see next year when our team comes back, we're going to be competing for a championship.
Tim Cato, you were in the room when he gave that answer. Your thoughts when he said that?
And Nico kind of laughs at the start, and
I mean, it's a funny setup, dude. It's funny.
It is a pretty funny setup.
It's an accurate one, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's obviously the context changes when the past success doesn't single-handedly, like, it doesn't carry over, after a trade like this. So,
the serious question that was not going to be answered in this press conference, and this is the one that the Mavericks have to ask themselves, is, given the negativity and the whole conversation and noise around this franchise, and the fact that realistically, come October, if the GM tries to sit in his seats, the same noise and vitriol will rain down upon him. In that environment, can he effectively lead this team's basketball operations? That is the question. I'm going to guess if we survey this panel, they will go 0 for 4. But the Mavs are going to have to decide this. And if the answer is no, they also have to find who is going to come in here to take over and can take over to try to take on this monumental task of trying to lead this franchise to a rebound, because it is going to be incredibly difficult when, again, all efforts pre-February 1, 2025 for the last 6+ years were designed to put a team around the unique talents of Luka Dončić, and they gave up so much of their draft capital to do that, and they did put the best roster around him that they ever had, and won 14 of their 17 games before Luka sustained the calf strain on Christmas. And whether it's Nico Harrison or someone else, it is an incredibly daunting future in front of the Mavs to try to get back to a place where this team can contend for a final spot. And that's the question that leadership needs to be asking itself. Can Nico continue to be the GM in these circumstances with the noise that is around this team?
And I think they are. I think they absolutely are asking the questions. The what's tricky, what's unknown is what answers they're coming up with to those questions. And
look, you get asked this every day. I get asked this every day. And my answer will continue to be, we don't know enough about Patrick Dumont and what he is like. It's hard to say what he's likely to do because none of us have covered. I mean, he's never been in this situation before. But look, I mean, I'll share this. I heard in Sacramento after the game that he and Nico looked quite chummy after that win in the play-in game over the Kings. And then you heard another comment that Nico Harrison said today. He said that two plus months removed from the trade, after all the noise and negativity, he says that his relationship with Patrick Dumont has actually been strengthened on the other side of all of this negative reaction. Now, Patrick Dumont didn't say that. We don't know if Patrick Dumont feels the same way, but those are important variables that we need to get to the bottom of.
And it does seem like the easiest thing to do is to do nothing, and I do mean that genuinely, because that's the situation that you put. If you decide that Nico cannot effectively continue in his role and that the optics and the continued PR crisis, the PR issue that the team has involving this general manager, if that's what you end up deciding and he's fired, it's not just a new GM, but it's a new GM coming in likely to trade away the core. I don't think there is a scenario where Nico stays and everything else just kind of goes along the way it's going. And so the easiest thing is to just let it keep
easy
going.
now because there are
Right.
no games.
Right.
Come training camp, I don't think the atmosphere around this team will be any different than it is now, barring some amazing run of roster moves this summer that are hard to forecast right now.
And that Nico said was not, he says the team's core is in place. We'll see if he's honest about that. But he said that this is what he sees as the team that lines up over the next 3 years, and everything else is like tweaking around the edges. He said there is no big move coming.
Now in the chat, I see a lot of our friends are saying, Bob Myers, go get Bob Myers. Bob Myers is not going to take the Dallas Mavericks GM job.
And why
it doesn't
would he?
matter. It doesn't.
He literally left Golden State, so he didn't have to figure out what to do with Klay
and
Thompson.
people will say he's close with Rick Welts. They work together in Golden State. It would be a great no. Patrick Dumont has all the money in the world to pitch at Bob Myers, but there's no way that Bob Myers is going to leave his very good life right now doing TV and working with the Commanders in the NFL to take on the monumental task of trying to get the Mavericks back to, get them back on course. But the idea, like, if the Mavs do make a change, they're going to have to find that person. And that's the thing, is like, who is that GM? First of all, we know Patrick Dumont really doesn't have an NBA network, but he has brought in Rick Welts as his CEO. Rick Welts is super close with the league office. I'm sure they could cast a wide net in a theoretical search. But again, who is going to want to step into this mess?
No one.
No, it will not be. There will always be someone.
Someone whose first job it is, or someone who's about to retire. Because, here's the thing, man. This team is very old. This team has no picks. This team is already up against the first apron. And two players that are probably going to get raises are extension eligible this summer. And then you got another guy on a rookie deal who's going to get a massive raise whenever his expires the year after that, and Derek Lively. They're going to be flirting with the second apron as soon as next year, and they already don't have their picks from 27 to 30. They cannot trade anything.
I mean, that's the toughest part.
It's just you are so strapped down. You cannot make any moves. You have no flexibility. You have a guy in Kyrie that has been hurt for a long time, unfortunately, and has suffered a serious injury on the wrong side of 30. AD, hurt for a long time, wrong side of 30. Both of them are going to be making $100 million combined, at least starting next season. You have Klay, who's going to play out the last 2 years and then maybe retire. And then you got, again, a bunch of aging veterans that are all extension eligible. This is a really, really bad situation.
But other than that, what's wrong?
Yeah, that would not attract me at all. If I'm 50 in the prime of my career as a GM, I am not taking this job, because right now Nico Harrison is the only GM outside of maybe Sam Presti who seems confident in his ability to retain his job beyond this season.
You think they'd take GM Ben off our hands?
Can I just say it's really
I bet Ben would give it a shot.
Really funny to think about a GM and be like, okay, he's about to hit his prime. He's about to be 50.
Yeah,
that is a very.
Well, I mean, you're not going to
just
hang it
brought
up. The guy that they hired in Washington, first time job, but he is managing a rebuild. They have all of their picks for a very long time. The Mavs have this many picks for a long time. They are in control of none of their picks from 27 to 30, and that is when Kyrie and AD will be out of the NBA, not just on a different team. They'll probably be retired, and the Mavs won't have their picks. Very, very limited chance that this thing stays good beyond next season, if that even.
This is why Nico Harrison should be relieved of his duties. Bobby just eloquently laid out the situation that's facing this team for the next 1 year,
and he said it's not his problem to worry about.
3 years. Again, another reason why he should be relieved of his duties. Any other general manager that has put his team in this position would have been fired 2 weeks ago. And I'm not joking. to have no picks from the years 27 to 30, to have gotten older, artificially shortened a window from 10 years to 3 based on your potential time left in the league, you got to go. You have not, and on top of all of that, the last thing I'll mention that Bobby didn't mention here, the fact that you didn't go to your best friend Rob Pelinka and say, hey, I'm about to give you Luka Dončić. You're going to give me everything and then some with Anthony Davis to make this team better, not just now, but for the future. And since he didn't do that, that's malpractice in and of itself. Again, another reason why Nico Harrison has to go, because not only did you torpedo the immediate future, you torpedoed the long-term future of this team with no regard about how this team will look when or not if you are here with this franchise. And that is a dereliction of duty when it comes to how you are supposed to steward a franchise. You got to go. It's that simple. And he has found a situation. I'll say this real quick. Nico Harrison has found a perfect situation because he's working for a dude who has been reportedly saying that he has no idea about basketball. So guess what? He's got job security. He's got job security because this guy is going to continue to follow him because he was able to convince him to trade a 25-year-old generational superstar and not get the most out of the return for it. Good for Nico. Good for Nico for finding that kind of job security because, my gosh, he has found it. Let's take our next break here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. When we come back, we're going to dial up the Stein with our national NBA insider, Marc Stein, because I got a question for him when it comes to Mark Cuban because he's got a question he needs to figure out here. I'll ask him that next on the DLLS Mavs podcast.
But first, been a big day on our website. Tim Cato just dropped a, what do they call it, a Cato bomb or a Tim Truth or a Cato cannon? What is it called whenever you spit?
Cato's Corner.
Cato's
Corner written edition.
Tim Cato brought us into Cato's Corner on alldlls.com to reveal all sorts of insight into the situation at hand here in Dallas. And the only way to read it is to sign up to become a diehard. We're running a special right now. It's NFL Draft Week. Cowboys going to be streaming all weekend long as they make some good picks. Maybe one or two of their picks will be good, Kevin. I don't know.
Just get the first one right, and we'll go from there.
Let's get the first one right.
Yeah,
you heard it there first. It's just $36 for a full year becoming a diehard. It's $3 a month if you average it out. And when you sign up, you get to read the entire website, all of the exclusive stuff from folks like Tim, Clarence and Joe on Cowboys, Jeff Wilson on Rangers, Sam Nessler, Sean Shapiro on the Stars. And we also got some Wings coverage coming along that I'm very excited about now that Paige Sisson is finally here. You also get a free shirt when you sign up that pays for almost the cost of the membership itself. It's great. You just choose. You got almost 40 to choose from. You get your physical diehard card that is made of space technology. We went out to a meteor in space and extracted... No, you're on close-up. Show it off, Mark.
Oh, sorry.
Extracted rare minerals from it to create these physical diehard cards. You also get to join the DLS Diehard Discord Lounge, a great place to hang out. We are more than now, I think, 12 or maybe even 1,300 strong here at DLS Sports of our mighty, mighty diehards, many of you which are in the chat right now. So whether you choose to support us here on YouTube by hanging out in the chat, liking the stream, subbing in the channel, commenting and all that stuff, or whether you put your money where your mouth is and become a diehard, hey, thank you so much for being on this journey with us. We're about to touch 21,000 subs here at DLS Sports, and thank you very much for being along with us on this journey, KG.
Shout out to the over 1,500 folks watching us live right now on the DLLS Mavs podcast. We sincerely appreciate you. As Bobby said, the quickest way you can support us here at DLLS Sports is to like, comment, and subscribe as we are nearing 21,000 subscribers here.
We expect to see all 1,500 of you tomorrow as well.
Indeed.
That's right.
Every single day. Well, 5 days a week.
If you want to take Wednesday off, that's fine, but be back Thursday. Then Friday.
Just be here on Wednesday, please.
Okay, be here on Wednesday
Yeah,
also.
don't skip on Wednesday.
Okay, don't skip Wednesday.
Please be here.
We got content all the time. Let's get to a couple more super chats before I ask my question to Marc Stein because I got a question he's got to answer for me. Math Simon with the 320 super chat. Thank you for your contribution. Shout out to Diehard Sarah with the $4.99 super chat. Nico saying he's an optimistic person as he chose not to consider potential bad outcomes concerning for a CEO in any industry. Connor Ray vibes.
Can't always just be
Connor
like,
Roy,
I will make sure this works out. You have to weigh risk. Risk management is a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
We've been saying it from the moment the trade happened. You know, that you're making a trade that could very easily backfire, that needs things out of your control to even have any semblance of being seen.
But did it backfire, Tim, or did it work out all right?
Well, it's not going.
Time will
so
tell.
Good.
I mean,
Time will tell.
I mean, it's pretty cool.
Judge me in 3 years.
I mean, it's pretty cool getting compared to Babe Ruth, I guess.
It's awesome.
It's awesome. That line was insane. Anyway, Blue Tortoise Sports with the $1.99 super chat. Only one man can save us now, Tim Cato. Rich Paul.
Make the move. Make the move.
I mean, the Lakers hired a former agent, and look how that's working out.
Half
for
the
them.
team is a clutch client anyway, so you might as well.
That's true. Jake with the $4.99 super chat. Nico thinks he's better at GMing than Luka is at basketball. The sheer hubris there has no bounds.
He made a couple layups and a couple free throws. Is like, I'm pulling this one from the other free throw line. Watch this.
You've said it before. Like, that was the ultimate heat check trade.
Oh my God, just the biggest heat check.
Like,
I mean, honestly, respect.
I mean, he got Nico. I mean, he got PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford. Said, you know what? I'm finna cook for half
Like
court.
when Larry Bird played a whole game left-handed.
That's right. Jake comes back in with the $1.99 super chat. If Nico ends up in Los Angeles in any capacity in the future,
But he's not. Why would they hire a person who their best player can't stand?
that's right. And do you know who plays
and
for
whose
Los
judgment
Angeles
is
now?
clearly in question?
That's right.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say there's no chance of that happening. And also, not positive Nico would want another basketball role quite in that vein.
Yeah, this is it for my man. Like, this is the one and only GM job he will ever get in this league after what he has done with this particular
league.
trade. This league, that gets us to
As an executive.
That's right. Hashtag this league. As we get to our guy, Marc Stein, we dial up the Stein line here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Again, sincerely appreciate all of you joining us here on our show today. So I was at the airport this morning in Las Vegas, and as I was getting ready to board my flight, I see Tim Cato dropping bombs. I'm like, oh gosh, I got to sit here and read this. I see our other guy, Tim, with the worldwide leader, dropping bombs. Like, oh my gosh. I was like, oh, that's right. I got to read Stein's piece because, I was checked out over the weekend, at WrestleMania in Las Vegas. Oh, I got to read Stein's piece. And then it got me to thinking, because we've heard a lot about the relationship, or that is now severed, between former Mavericks trainer and gold medalist and all kinds of accolades, in terms of Casey Smith, who's now running things for the New York Knicks as they make their playoff run. And the connection that Smith had with this franchise, and how, in a lot of ways, whether it be the lack of relationship now that Dirk Nowitzki has with this team, obviously we know how instrumental Casey Smith was in terms of Luka Dončić and his transition to the U.S. and how close they got. And in fact, Casey Smith was part of the delegation that went over to Slovenia as he was competing for Team Slovenia a few years ago. One thing that came up for me, Mark, that I want to ask you about, because if Casey Smith, who we've learned a lot more about even in the last, several days and weeks, was this close in terms of his relationship with Mark Cuban, Luka Dončić, Dirk Nowitzki, and had a real role with this team in terms of even personnel and decisions that were made there. When Nico Harrison came up with the idea that he wanted to remove Casey Smith from his position, Mark Cuban was still the majority owner at the time of when this happened. So my question is, if Smith was that important, that critically important to the operations of this team, why didn't Cuban step in and say, Nico, that's not happening. Casey Smith is this, and this in this organization and will be respected as part of this organization. Why didn't he step in on Casey Smith's behalf to keep him here if he was that important?
He certainly could have, but he did not. He made the decision that he was not going to intervene, and so that was the 2022-23 season was the 38-44 disaster. Mavs, after a Cinderella run to the Western Conference Finals, fall all the way out of the West top 10, had to tank at the end. Now, the tanking did work out because you had the draft where you got Lively and the Corellis Raiders' all-time favorite Maverick, Olivier Maxence Prosper, in the same draft. But
I can't believe I was happy back then, Mark.
after Mark Cuban did start to, he was still majority owner and still had final say on all transactions, but he also did start to give Nico Harrison more leeway to make decisions than he had ever given Donnie Nelson. He did start to back off. you have to understand with the reason we hear so much about Casey, he was not just the athletic trainer here. He was essentially part of the brain trust when Mark Cuban was owner and Donnie Nelson was the lead executive running the front office. Donnie Nelson deputized Casey Smith to be part of free agent meetings, discussions about signing players. Like, he was treated as a member of the front office on top of his duties as the athletic trainer. Nico Harrison, once it was his front office, clearly didn't want that. He only wanted his athletic trainer to be the athletic trainer. He didn't want Casey Smith to have the level of influence that he had in the past. And so it was Nico decided that he wanted to remove Casey from his day-to-day role running Mavericks Medical, as he had for nearly 20 years, and Cuban did not stop it. As you just said, Cuban had the option to intervene, and he decided, no, I'm going to let Nico make the moves that he wants to make, and so he did. And, Tim McMahon wrote a great story today as well, detailing so many of these things, and he had a lot in there about Casey Smith's removal and just the horrible circumstances in which that message was delivered. But I also want to point you to the rest of that equation, which I wrote about in my 2-part series before April 9th when Luka came back here. A big element of it was not just the very, very, very insensitive manner in which the news was relayed to Casey Smith that he was losing his day-to-day role, which happened when he was away from the team. He was visiting his very, very ill mother who was dealing with a terminal illness when he got this news. On top of the horrendous circumstances in which it was delivered, Casey Smith was not informed of his change in role until August of that summer, after Dirk Nowitzki's Hall of Fame induction. If you remember that summer, Greg St. Jean was removed from the coaching staff very quickly after the season. The Casey Smith move was not made until August, after Dirk's Hall of Fame inductions, and it just conveyed this message that it was intentionally delayed until after Dirk went into the Hall of Fame. It was very late in the summer. It was too late in the summer for Casey to turn around and find another job with another team, and just it was manner plus timing that contributed heavily to the distance we now see Dirk Nowitzki has from the only franchise he has ever known. It is by no means the only factor, but it was a big factor in how this franchise, which again, of all the madness that has ensued for the last 80 days, the fact that we've come to learn the depths and the distance to which Dirk Nowitzki has been removed from the map. I mean, like, that is as untenable as the trade is for Mavs fans. I mean, that's right there too. And I reported over the weekend, Dirk still has an office in the Mavericks practice facility that basically just sits dark because he's not part of this organization right now at all. And that is something else major that the Mavericks have to fix. And it's on them to fix. It's on them to repair it. And so, yeah, it's that was the decision that Cuban made.
That Casey thing was real nasty, man. I mean, Nico definitely stripped the emotion out of that, but the process still sucked ass. Interesting. I don't know. Maybe his whole philosophy is just bad. Maybe he's just not very good at managing people, which as the general manager, I feel like is your job.
Especially when you have the reputation of being the relationship guy.
Yes.
Like being the relationship guy.
What kind of relationships is he actually building?
And that's something that is, again.
Were we sold snake oil?
Yeah. Or bad shoes. Who knows? But at the same time, it is what it is in terms of, I just wanted to make sure that I address it because I just found it very, very curious that Cuban, who still had the power to be able to make certain decisions, and I'm speaking for me personally, it felt like he hung his boy out to dry because that's wild with the importance of Casey Smith and how important he was to the organization that he wouldn't step in on his behalf to say, hey, no, you.
Yes, you're right, Kev. Super Kev, you are. It was and remains shocking.
Yeah. We'll continue our conversation here on the other side of the break. We want to thank you for joining us here on our television audience for the DLLS Mavs podcast. We'll be back tomorrow at a special time at 11 a.m. right here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Visit alldlls.com as the conversation will continue online there. Back here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Yeah, as I was just saying that, we'll get to the rest of your super chats here in just a moment. But it felt like, as I was just kind of reading and thinking about how we've gotten here in terms of certain situations, that it felt like Mark Cuban hung his boy out to dry, which is kind of crazy to think about how important Casey Smith was to the organization, his reputation around
he still owned the team at the time.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, he's the majority owner of the team. Yes, I understand giving your new general manager some leeway, but at the same time, if you're going to assign that level of critical importance to a guy that's literally helping you in free agent meetings on top of the other responsibilities that he has, I would think he would stay around regardless of who is leading in terms of certain basketball operations. And I just found it to be completely insane that Cuban was like, actually, Nico, you got this. You want to remove my guy that's been around for 20 plus years who haven't trusted certain things? Yeah, go ahead. Like, I don't understand that, and we'll never really understand it because that doesn't seem right to me in a lot of ways. Let's get to some more of your super chats here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Super chat Ardell with the 541 super chat. Rich Paul, we might need. Come on, dog.
We do not need that guy.
We do not need
go
that
on record.
Rich.
We cannot comment on pending legal matters.
That's right. He would have fit with the Mavericks a lot better a couple decades ago.
Hey, yo, Cato, relax. Yeah. Des Bryant reference about that other rich guy. Anyway, Jake, that was a wild line, Tim. That's crazy. Let's go with the $1.99 super chat from Jake. Luka over under 41.5 points tomorrow. Oh, wait, so game 2 is tomorrow? It's not tonight?
Who can say
They
more?
just played game 1 on Saturday. They don't. Oh, wow. They get 2 days off between these games now? Okay.
I know we're not covering a playoff team, but don't forget how it works. They space that thing out.
I forget that you spaced it. Yeah, it's 2 days in between games 1 and 2.
But they hung Memphis out to dry. 8:30 game into it.
I mean, I have a real question for all our friends in the chat.
Friday.
This is a serious question.
What?
Why?
Why?
Before you continue with the super chats,
okay.
I mean, yeah, I've asked it once, but I'm gonna ask it again. Like, do you guys want to get together? Should we do a post-game show after a Luka playoff game? Is that something that you guys want us to do?
Not on Friday, please.
No, I mean, it doesn't have to be on Friday. I'm just saying in general. Do we want to? do we want to get together?
The NFL draft thing.
Do we want to get together and do a Luka post-game show after a Laker game? Is that something we want? I think that is a question that we need the answer to, because I kind of think we should. I do think we should, but I mean, the people need to decide this. This is their show.
Yeah, I
late
think I
night
want
streaming is pretty fun.
Yeah,
I like late night streaming. Even if they say no, Mark, you got me. I'll be there.
Oh wow, I'm surprised there's a lot more yeses than
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to. I think we have to.
If they make the NBA finals,
if
they make the NBA finals.
Well, NBA finals. I mean, that's a long way away. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Mark just wants to work at night.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Well,
exactly. Good call.
That's
good call.
That is 100% true.
Good call. Good call.
But if everybody says no, then I stand down.
Mark's the night owl.
I'm gonna say if they make the NBA finals, all right. But you
got to get past Minnesota first.
Yeah, you got to get past Minnesota first.
I've been on that train for a little while.
Seeing a lot of yeses.
Quite good, and that series is going to be tough.
Seeing a lot of yeses on the screen.
Let's keep going with our super chats here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. We've got Billy with the $5 super chat.
The legend returns.
That's right. Mavs' future is darker than the night sky. Nico makes Jerry look like a prophet. Also, shout out to Yogi Ferrell and Salah Mejri, as always.
As always.
Jerry's looking at the last week of Mavs attention and is like, that son of a...
No, he's not. I think he's loving it.
That man wants the spotlight, Mark. You know that.
Yeah,
you don't
man.
think he wants the vitriol, though, directed at another franchise?
Oh, I'm sure he would take the vitriol, but what about the love and affection? What is he going to do to win these fans back?
See, the thing about Jerry is he welcomes all of it because you're talking about him and his team. So whether you're talking bad about him, talking good about him, you're talking about Jerry.
I mean, after the season they had, you don't I mean, again, you guys are the NFL experts, not me. After the season the Cowboys had, they're not loving that the Mavs are in the eye of the storm instead of them?
This cat is intentionally not signing Micah Parsons to drag out a story until we get to probably the first week of the NFL season. Like, he wants the attention, and he's about to get all of it on Thursday night with the NFL draft.
What's their first pick? What number?
Number 12.
Until they trade back.
Hey, now.
I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Can you get a difference maker at number 12 in the NFL draft?
I
Yeah,
believe you
for
can.
sure.
They got Micah
They get
Parsons
difference
at 12.
makers in the 6th round.
They took Micah Parsons at 12 a few years ago.
Can the Mavs get a difference maker at number 12? Isn't that about where they're
They'll
supposed
be
to
the
land?
11th or 12th. Yeah.
That's another
They can
conversation
get a
for another
difference
day.
making 33-year-old with that pick.
Does everything change in your life if they win the lottery?
Everything changes in everyone's life if they win the lottery.
Cooper Flag did officially declare for the
And
NBA
we'll do a
draft
lottery
today.
watch along May 12th.
So shout out and congratulations to Cooper Flag, who officially declared the presumptive number 1 pick for this year's NBA
I'm
draft.
shocked.
Right. Ozzy D with the $4.99 super chat. Do y'all think they go into luxury tax to try and save face for all bad decisions they've made in the last few months?
They're going to have to.
Yeah, they already are.
Yeah.
And that's before,
Yeah.
Potentially giving Kyrie a raise.
Yeah.
Which is dangerous because they're already at the first apron.
Yes.
Like, before anything changes this summer, they are at the first apron. The guy that they pick at 11, if they stay at 11 and don't trade it, will make more than Dante Exum did this year.
You know, your responsible and constant acknowledgement of the aprons really is commendable.
Thank you.
It's like you never like, I'm actually going to recommend to management that they make a DLLS apron for you to wear. It's like you are the most apron conscious person.
But that informs all the decisions that they can't
Yeah, no,
make.
you're right,
Yeah.
dude. I'm chapeauing you.
But yeah, I
Thank you.
don't think I don't think the team or the decision makers, even if they wanted to, I don't think it's a binary. Let's spend a lot and try to save face versus not spend. It's all contextual in what they're trying to do.
Would you wear
as
a
team.
DLLS apron?
Probably not.
Yeah, you
They
But I
have said
understand
the
the
only way
sentiment.
they're going to win fans back is by winning. So if you think they're
Right.
going to take a step back, ain't going to happen.
Nico Harrison did say as part of his comments today that he does fully expect Kyrie to be back with this team. He's part of their future going forward. Of course, Kyrie has the opportunity to opt out this summer to become a free agent, and potentially get a new deal with the Dallas Mavericks. So we'll see. That'll be a piece of news that we'll definitely be covered throughout the course of the summer. Dallas
Gooner.
817 with the $5 super chat. Nico genuinely thinks that Luka is not a championship level player, even though Luka led the Mavs to the finals on one leg. Make it make sense. He did a professional dodging of that question earlier when I believe it was Joey Mastretta of Clutch Points who asked him, does he believe that Luka Dončić is a championship player? And my man went Ole on that question. Okay. He was not trying to answer and basically went with the whole defense wins championships trope all over again. By the way, my man, in the first minute, I was listening to it in my car as I was driving over here. Within the first minute, my man hit us with the defense wins championships. I was like,
I
oh
love
my
it,
gosh.
dude. I love it.
Like,
I love it.
yeah, I mean,
Keep saying it.
baller consistent with his message, I guess.
Defense wins championships.
And he stayed with it. Jake spending all the cash today. Really appreciate
Go,
you.
Jake.
With the 499 super chat. This is from Marc Stein. Mark, would you like to take a stab at reading this?
Can you read it and then I'll answer it?
All right. Mr. Stein, do you believe the NBA handled this trade appropriately? Any checks, balances fans might not know about? Almost feels rigged.
Yeah, so look, I know it's not the answer that you want, but the league does not have the ability to say that trade is brutal and we reject it. Like, if it is cap legal, they're going to let it go through. And this trade was obviously cap legal. That, like, there's this misconception that lingers because of what happened to the Chris Paul trade. But David Stern, which again, that was an insane situation. But if you remember, were they even the Pelicans?
They were still the Hornets.
They were still the Hornets.
Yeah.
Basically had no owner. And so the league took ownership of the franchise until it was sold. So David Stern at that time was actually acting as the Hornets owner, which is a book in itself. But
somehow they got the number 1 pick after that too. That's really weird. That's
Thank you.
just
The
bizarre to me.
insanity
so
of that whole
in
thing.
this circumstance, because Adam Silver is just the commissioner and not the acting owner of either of these teams, unfortunately, if the trade is cap legal, as ill-advised as it might seem on paper, they're not going to do anything.
Unless, if we can skip ahead to Kyle's comment, Super Chat for $9.99. The year is 2032. The NBA has passed a league veto rule, so GMs can veto terrible trades like this. It's called the Nico rule. Ted Stepien can finally rest. He is no longer the worst exec in NBA history. Ted Stepien, good reference. I always forget his first name, but yeah, Stepien, who the Mavs actually.
The Mavs actually are the reason the Stepien rule exists.
Uh-huh.
They ripped them off so badly, time and time again, all in 1 year.
You're right, Stein, but you're right for 7 more years.
And there's
Kyle's
an
rule
amendment.
comes-
It's all gonna
comes
change.
to play.
2032.
It's all
Noted.
going to change.
Noted.
Luke, I'm sure, will be out of his prime by then. Brian.
New arena. There'll be a new arena in Dallas, too.
That will be
Touche.
in its prime.
Touche. Brian with the $9.99 Super Chat. The problem the Mavs have is that they wait a year to punt Nico and try to rebuild. They've got 1 first-round pick from 26 to 2030. There's no capital to rebuild with.
Unless you trade the players you currently have. I mean, they could absolutely get picks for PJ, for Gafford, obviously for Kyrie, for AD. You're not going to get a first-round pick for Clay, but there's ways to create first-rounders. I don't think they're going to do that, though, because Nico said he loves the core.
Which a core that now includes a 35-year-old, a 33-year-old coming off a torn ACL, a 32-year-old who, check me on my math here, grabbed his groin, back, both legs at one point in the Memphis game and looked like he had a season-ending injury about 3 times against the Grizzlies and still score 40 points somehow.
And one center that can't stay healthy and another center that can't defend in space.
One of those centers, the training staff is fighting over because of whether or not he's got a fractured ankle or not. Like, good gracious, man.
It's really hard to rebuild effectively without owning your own picks. I think Dallas is, even if they could certainly get some draft picks, they traded all the players away. There's no question about that. I think some of the players might be a little trickier to trade than you might think, just because of age and contracts and everything else.
There's ways.
There are certainly ways. I'm not denying that. But it is also possible the team is going to, eat its vegetables no matter what it does in the next year. Like it may not matter. They may just have to eat vegetables. So that is just yet another complication to this decision. PR optically, it seems pretty clear what to do. But if you're the person if you're Patrick Dumont and you actually have to make that decision, I at least get how there's a lot of layers to what he's going to have to decide to do this summer. And like I said, might just be easiest to do nothing.
Their job is to do what's best for the Dallas Mavericks. I guess that's up for them to decide.
Megan with the $9.99 Super Chat. I got a question for Megan. Are you about that base? No trouble.
Megan also added a comment.
Oh, she did?
Yeah, Megan said basically she would feel sorry for Nico. Nico looked really nervous. Nico was very quiet, seemed very sheepish, and she would feel sorry for him under different circumstances. I have to say I agree. Very uncomfortable watching him. I do feel bad for the guy despite all of this. It's got to be very, very tough, and obviously a lot of things have been said to him and about him that are really unfair and honestly really disgusting and really nasty. That said, skill issue.
Yeah, from a pure basketball standpoint, I said what I said earlier in terms about his job, what he has gone through.
Not good at it.
Yeah, what he's gone through personally with, threats to him and his family and otherwise.
And to the staff of the franchise
the staff
that are not him.
It's crossed several lines that are uncalled for. And that's just what it is. Ozzy D with the $4.99 Super Chat. Can y'all hire me to Photoshop superstars into Mavs jerseys all day? Seems to be a winning strategy for Lakers fans.
We could use some social engagements. I will keep that in mind.
Sure. Classic Stain Lever with a $4.99 super chat. Mamba mentality is great on the court. I think Nico took it to life and business. The thing about that is, we'll leave it where it is.
It's all like a metaphor. Kobe going in and ripping your heart out. That's just a metaphor. It's not real.
Yeah.
I don't know if he knows that.
Yeah.
Nico, I mean, not Classic Stain Lever.
I'll leave that where it is. Sarah back in with the $4.99 super chat. Please consider that Mavs fans deserve a watch along during the Wolves series to watch Luka cook Rudy. We deserve to heal. Do we heal or do
that's the thing?
Do we heal or do we just get pissed off that much more? Tanner is going to get pissed off that much more. He pointed to me. He's like, make sure you say that. Okay, got it.
The pizza Bobby buys for you does not heal that wound.
Let me tell you something.
I could use some pizza.
I'm gonna speak for Tanner very, very quickly. Tanner, every time you see that cat Luka Dončić in a purple and gold 77 jersey, is ready to break stuff around here. Okay, I mean he's not gonna do it because he likes his job, but he's ready to just break stuff every time he sees Luka in that jersey. Okay, good. Jonathan with the $99 super chat. How does this team attract free agents?
Not with money, because they don't have any of that. Not with the promise of security, because there is none of that. Not with the promise of winning, because they probably won't be doing that. And not with the promise of playing time, because they're keeping the core. Otherwise, there's so many reasons to want to be a Mav. It's just up to you to determine them. It is a good question, though. I mean, it's potentially gonna be very tough.
Clay Goods 123 with the $4.99 super chat. Me and my cat watched Nico's presser, and we both hate his guts. That's pretty funny.
Don't come for the cats. Leave the cats alone. That is the first rule of the internet.
The first.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
wow.
God, dude.
Empire we are.
We love your floors.
Today. With the $10 super chat. Followed Luka since day one. Watched every Laker game. Fellas, it ain't the same. There's a fire missing. The stats not as impactful. Nico, bad liar or emotional moron, needs to shut up.
I think the one difference, I mean, the Lakers just don't have the big. You know, I mean, Luka danced great with Dwight Powell, you know, and he went to the finals with Lively and Gafford. The Lakers have Jackson Hayes, who is not, in my opinion, a very impactful player, and they don't really have any other bigs to speak of on the roster.
Exciting news.
Yes.
The Mavs won the coin flip with Chicago.
Let's go!
Oh, wow.
Let's go! Defense wins coin flips. Let's go! They did it. 11th place.
So that means they're 11th in the.
Let's do the math.
Let's go!
Let's do the math.
Oh my
Maybe
God!
Maybe this is the year that they finally move
This
up for
is
the first
huge.
time in
Number
franchise.
11, your Mavs. Shot at the number 1 overall pick.
This is huge.
1.8%.
I love those odds. They have no second round picks. That's fine. But Melvin Ajinça
I mean,
continues to develop.
1.8%, like I said before, 1.8% sounds awful until you remember that the 17-win Jazz only have a 14% chance.
Mark, you're talking to a guy that regularly clicks Focus Blast when playing Pokemon, all right? And that's a 70% chance
I don't know
to
what
hit.
that means. What is?
Just-
how do you do on Tankathon?
Guys.
How many spins on Tankathon?
No. You won't believe this. I just went to Tankathon and I hit spin one time. And would you guess who the top team is?
Show us your screen.
The
It's
Mavs.
the Washington Wizards. In fact, turns out 1.7 is still a very low percentage, and you are unlikely to go to move
See,
on.
but-
18 out of 1,000.
Yeah.
See,
So,
right.
sorry.
but a Bulls fan, Marc Stein, will tell you what was their percentage of.
Now they're down
Chance?
to 1.7.
I did spin it a second time, and now Dallas is second.
Oh, no,
So,
that's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
I'll show you the screen on that one. They really did move up. I mean, it's possible.
What was
Second,
Chicago?
how would you feel at number 2? You'd still would Bobby Corral?
No, they're trading the pick unless they get number 1.
You're convinced?
If they get 3, I'm sure. 2, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dallas.
If they-
I do
If they get
think
a top 3 pick and trade it,
They like vets. They've said the timeline. The
what
timeline is now.
Who is the vet you're getting for the number 2 pick?
who was good 7 years ago?
Kevin Durant.
Yeah, who was on the 2018 All-Star team? That's who they're getting.
Who was good 7 years ago, he said.
Oh
my
Moving up to
goodness.
2 and getting Dylan Harper would actually like be one of the very, 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 very few things that I could see kind of salvaging some of the teams.
They could use a
franchise.
guard, but
Yeah, like have
Man himself has said timeline now. He traded a 25-year-old to try and win the title. Like they're gonna rock with a 19-year-old.
But you know, you play him a bunch of minutes in the regular season to wait until Kyrie gets back, and then you know when this timeline runs out, at least you still got a young star that.
Here's the thing. So this is like
But
this is an ancient
all
draft
so
take of mine.
theoretical.
You draft guards and centers in the top 5 in order to get another top 5 pick the following year. Like if it were me right now, you want the honest truth. Whether they win the lottery or not, I'm blowing it up. I'm getting as many picks as possible, sucking hard this year to get AJ DeBonce next year. That's what I'm doing. Sorry. Being very bad
Pause.
this year to get him next year. So I'm winning the lottery in 2026. That is my goal. And then you continue the cycle, but you don't have any of your picks. Like that's the whole secret.
That's why I said I should have blown the thing up when you traded Luka Dončić away to begin with. Neil with the $5 super chat. Bobby, that was crazy what you said, by the way. Do you think we'll get a
You got a problem?
I'm just going to keep you honest. That's why I'm back. Neil with the $5 super chat.
Can we say glaze on YouTube?
Of course you can.
Oh, okay.
What you said, though, wild. Pause. There you go, Mark. There you see you catching on. Neil with the $5 super chat. Do you think we'll get a, quote, fire Nico chant at a Cowboys game this season? That would make me very happy. I thought about I
According to you guys, Jerry will be mad if that happens and say, chant about me.
Yeah, he will.
I was wondering if a fire Nico chant was going to break out at WrestleMania. Sad. Well, not necessarily sad to report. One did not break out, gentlemen, at Allegiant Stadium over the past couple days. So no fire Nico chants there. Sarah says, keep saying, never mind.
Keep saying what?
Blown or glaze. Thanks, Sarah.
I'm just saying that's my plan. All right.
Your plan was great. The metaphors that you decided to use and the emphasis on the two words that you said.
My team is gonna suck.
Recording in the 4 p.m. hour has led to some real weird energy from a lot of y'all. Let's get out of here.
Tim says it's time to go. And
read Tim's article on our website. Become a diehard.
Yeah, we'll talk about it more tomorrow.
Tim had an absolute banger of an article today. I told you I was sitting at the airport today. I could not get away from my phone because I was sitting there reading it as I was getting ready to board my plane. So thank you for my morning reading this morning, Tim. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate our guy Tanner making us look good and sound good as always. Thank you, sir. We will be back at a special time tomorrow, boys and girls, at 11 a.m. Mark your calendars, 11 a.m., as Kyle wants to spend more money with another super chat, $4.99 variety.
Oh, thank you, Kyle.
Appreciate you. Nah, man, I know you misspoke, but
might consider essing hard to get. I'll see myself at. Hey, you should always think about it. It could be worth it. He's gonna be a great player.
11 a.m. is our start time tomorrow here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. So mark your calendars for that as we'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. That is our national NBA insider, Marc Stein. You can always dial up the Stein line at the Stein line. That is our Mavericks analyst, Bobby Carella. That is our Mavericks beat writer, Tim Cato. You can find him at X at Tim_Cato. I'm your host, Kevin Gray. We are DLLS Mavs. We will talk to you tomorrow at 11 a.m. right here on DLLS Sports. Y'all enjoy the rest of your Monday. We'll talk to you later. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.